So I have a Van here with me. Van is an expert at hiring and managing contractors and kind of doing rehab. So a lot of you here, whether it's for like a business need, you're trying to, upgrade a unit you bought, or some of you, it might be for your personal home. Van is going to go over just how to hire and manage these contractors.
There's an old saying that money is made on the buy. And of course that is the case. But once you get it to become a successful real estate investor, you realize that there's two pillars that all good successful real estate investors stand on. One is obviously to find a great deal, and Ken and Danille talk about that all the time. The other one also, I'm sure they touch on as well, is the whole idea of how to execute a successful renovation value add, because I can give anybody the best deal, and we all know that deal is always going to have some type of renovation that needs to be completed or some type of value add to be able to raise value. And even if you have a great deal, if you're not able to execute that renovation, that value add, you can screw up that deal pretty quickly. And all of a sudden a great deal turns into a bad one. And I've seen over the 30 years of my watching real estate investors, there's been so many that will grab a great deal and all of a sudden they end up squandering it. It turns into a bad deal and they're devastated by it financially and emotionally.
And where do you find general contractors and also just contractors in general?
That's a great question. And I'll start off by answering the question by saying places that I wouldn't. Places that I wouldn't find contractors is a place like sitting there outside of my home improvement center at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I think there's lots of people out there who say that is the place to find contractors, and that couldn't be further from the truth. If I am working and I'm busy and I'm doing what if I'm successful, I'm going to the home improvement place, buy my thing, and I'm out of there. I'm not looking to solicit customers. I'm busy. And what about references? The first place that you should be getting finding contractors is going to your power team and finding references from them. Relatives, friends, neighbors. Those are the types of people that you should be reaching out to aside from your power team. They will have, for sure, there's going to be somebody who's dealt with a contractor and has had a positive experience. That's number one. Outside of that, then you have masterminds, you have RIAs, you have meetup groups where there should be also there should be real estate investors in that group. And I find most real estate investors help one another. And if you reach out to those groups and say, hey, I'm in this particular spot and I'm looking for electrician, I'm looking for a general contractor, most often you can get good positive references from those groups. The next layer down would be, Facebook groups, places like that. I don't encourage people to go to places like Craigslist or places like that to find contractors, because oftentimes that's the bottom of the barrel. These are people that have just started in the business. They're driving around in a pickup truck, and unfortunately anybody can run out and buy a hammer. You don't need to have a license to buy a hammer, and all of a sudden if you buy a hammer, you're a contractor. And that's where people usually, those types will congregate, is the Kijijis and the Craigslist of the world. And that's not the place to go. And sitting in your parking lot in a whole, Home Depot or Lowe's is not the place to find your contractor. The analogy that I often use is that if you had to get surgery done, and if you had to go find a doctor, would you rather use a doctor as a driver around in a beat up Chevrolet, or the doctor that is driving around in a beautiful Cadillac? Those are the types of things, because I have learned through my 30 some odd years of experience, and I've done literally thousands of renovations. It's always at the end will bite you in the rear end if you decide to go the route of with the guy with the beat up pickup truck. Those are the ones that you have to hold their hand. You'll have to buy the materials every week. They'll come to you and crying, "Oh, I need money," or they'll disappear on you because the dog ate their homework or their kid got sick. These are the types of things you got to put up with when you're dealing in that realm. And so it's so much easier and more efficient in terms of getting your project done and completed when you're dealing with professionals. And yeah, you have to pay more for that professional. But when you're getting started in your real estate investing, you'll quickly understand that time is money. And if you got some jerk, sorry for using that language, but if you're finding some guy who's jerking you around, it's a really unpleasant feeling. And oftentimes people got to go through that. There's a pit in your stomach every day that goes by waiting for that contractor who promises he's going to show up, and you're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. and they don't show up.